I remember the smell before anything else. Hot asphalt, smoke, and cheap liquor bleeding through the air. The kind of smell that sticks to you even when you wash. It was summer '96, and Compton felt like it was holding its breath. Every block was tense, like a match waiting for the right spark. That spark came on a Tuesday night. I was standing outside Lucky's Liquor, leaning against a wall that had more bullet holes than bricks. My boy Tone was inside buying a pack of Newports. We just hit a dice game over on Burris Avenue, pockets still fat, hearts still pounding. The night was supposed to be easy, just a few beers, a few laughs. But easy nights don't last long out here. When Tone walked out, he had that grin, the one that said he was feeling untouchable. "You see that shot I hit?" he bragged, waving a wad of cash. "They ain't never seen hands like mine." I was about to joke back when the music from a nearby car cut off. Silence dropped heavy. Then I heard it, the soft click of metal. "Get down!" I shouted, but the words came too late. A black Cutlass rolled by slow, windows down just enough to show the flash of chrome. The sound tore through the air, sharp, echoing pops that made my chest cave in. Glass shattered, bodies hit concrete, and I felt the world tilt sideways. Tone went down first. I remember the look in his eyes. Not fear, not pain, just confusion. Like he couldn't believe the night turned on him that fast. Blood pooled under him, mixing with spilled beer. I tried to drag him behind a car, bullets still snapping around us, but he was already slipping. His last breath came out as a whisper I couldn't catch. Then the car sped off, leaving tire smoke and silence. My hands were shaking. My shirt was soaked in Tone's blood. I kept staring at him, waiting for him to blink, to say something smart like he always did. But he didn't move. The only thing moving was the red line creeping toward the gutter. Police sirens wailed somewhere far off, and I ran. Not because I was guilty, because out here, being at the scene was enough to get you buried next. The cops didn't ask questions. They just made you disappear. I cut through alleys, jumped fences, and didn't stop running until I reached the projects. By the time I got home, the adrenaline was gone, and all that was left was that damn smell. Blood, smoke, and asphalt. Our block, Rosecrans Avenue, always looked the same at night. Flickering streetlights, stray dogs, and silence that wasn't really silence. My mom was still up, sitting by the window like she always did, chain smoking and praying in the same breath. She didn't even ask where I'd been. She just looked at my shirt, at the stains, and turned away. "Another one?" she said quietly. I didn't answer. I just went to my room, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands. The blood had dried into dark patches. I could still feel it, though warm, sticky, heavy. I tried scrubbing it off in the sink until my skin turned raw. Tone was gone. My right hand since we were kids, and I didn't even know who pulled the trigger. By the next afternoon, the streets already knew. Word traveled faster than the cops ever could. People said it was the East Side Locks, retaliation for a fight that went down a week ago. Some said it was a setup from inside our own crew. Others just nodded and muttered, "That's the game." But it didn't feel like a game to me. It felt like something was cracking open. At the memorial spot by the liquor store, candles burned in the wind. Photos, empty bottles, a Raiders hat, all laid out like offerings. Tone's mom was there too, face swollen from crying, clutching his chain like it could bring him back. I couldn't even look her in the eye. When I got there, a few of the homies were already talking war. Reese, the loudest one in the bunch, was hyped up, pacing in circles. "Nah, we can't let that slide," he kept saying. "East Side think we soft now? Hell no. We hitting back tonight." Another dude nodded. "Word is they be hanging near the old car wash. We pull up, light 'em up, dip out." They were kids playing with fire, thinking they were soldiers. But this wasn't about respect anymore. It was about pride, about pain. And pain makes people stupid. I didn't say much, just stood there watching the candles flicker. Tone's mom looked up at me, eyes red. "You gon' let them take my baby and walk away?" she asked. That hit harder than the bullets. I didn't answer, but in my head, something shifted. Later that night, I met up with Reese behind the old warehouse off Rosecrans. We'd done this before too many times. The routine felt automatic. Black hoodie, gloves, bandana. He passed me a .45, heavy and cold. "You sure you good?" he asked, watching me check the clip. "I'm good," I said, but my voice didn't sound like mine. We rolled out in a stolen Civic, lights off, engine low. The streets were quiet, too quiet. Every shadow looked alive. When we reached the car wash, it was empty except for an old payphone and a stray cat digging through trash. "They was here earlier," Reese muttered. "Maybe they gone to the corner." We waited, engine idling, nerves burning. Then 2 cars pulled up across the street. Lowriders, east side tags clear as day. Laughter echoed, bottles clinking. My heart started pounding. "This it," Reese said. "Let's make it count." He reached for the window, but something in me froze. All I could think about was Tone's face. Not his death, his life. His stupid jokes, the way he always said we'd get out someday. I wasn't sure what hitting back would fix. But before I could say anything, Reese leaned out and opened fire. The world exploded again. Flashes, screams, glass. I saw one of the guys drop, clutching his leg. Another fired back, and bullets sliced the air, sparks flying off metal. Reese was yelling, laughing like it was a damn movie. Then the return shots came harder, faster. One hit the side mirror. Another cracked the windshield. Reese ducked, cursing, and I slammed the gas. The Civic screeched down the street, tires screaming louder than our hearts. We didn't stop until we hit the next block. Smoke drifted out the windows, our hands shaking. Reese started reloading, eyes wild. "That's how we do it, boy. They know now." But I wasn't celebrating. My ears were ringing. My soul felt empty. That's when I saw the blood on Reese's sleeve. He didn't even notice, adrenaline drowning everything else. But I did. I couldn't stop staring at it. It looked just like Tone's. The next morning, the news was everywhere. 2 men shot outside a car wash on Alondra. 1 dead, 1 in critical condition. The anchor said it like reading a grocery list. That's when I realized the one who died wasn't from East Side at all. He was a bystander, a man coming home from work, a father of 2. I turned the TV off and just sat there in silence. For the first time in a long time, the noise inside me was louder than the streets outside. Later that week, the retaliation came. Shots fired into our block around midnight. One of ours got hit, then another the next day. Every night, more candles appeared on the corners. More mothers crying. It was like the whole city was bleeding in slow motion. People started whispering that a war was coming, bigger than anything since '91. Old heads tried to calm it down, but no one was listening. Too many bodies, too much pride. And me? Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tone. Every sound made me reach for the gun under my pillow. A few nights later, I was sitting outside with my cousin Malik. He was older, used to run with the setback in the day before getting locked up. Now he worked at a body shop, trying to stay out the way. He looked at me and saw right through me. "You thinking about going back out there, huh?" he said. I didn't answer. He took a drag of his cigarette and nodded. "Listen, nephew, ain't no winning in them streets. You kill one, they kill 2. You win a corner, you lose your soul. You think Tone wanted this? He's gone," I said. "They can't just." "They already did." Malik cut me off. "And you can't fix it by spilling more blood. You just feeding the cycle." I wanted to believe him, but then I remembered Tone's mom's voice. "You gone let them take my baby and walk away?" Those words burned in my chest. Malik stood up, stretched, and looked down the street. The flickering lights, the boarded windows, the ghost of our block. "You keep living like this," he said softly. "You just waiting on your turn." Then he walked away, leaving me alone with the echo of his footsteps and the hum of streetlights. That night, I went back to the liquor store. The candles for Tone were still burning, their wax melting into puddles. Someone had spray painted his name on the wall. "Forever Real." I stared at it for a long time. Then I saw something that made my heart stop. A tag sprayed just beneath it, East Side Locks. It wasn't random. It was a message. They wanted us to see it, to react, to fall right back into their trap. I pulled out my piece, finger resting on the trigger, ready to cross the street. But then I saw a group of kids, maybe 12, 13, riding bikes, laughing, pointing at the mural like it was some kind of legend. They didn't even know what it meant yet. That's when it hit me. We were teaching them the same cycle. Same hate, different faces. I put the gun back in my waistband and just stood there, watching the candles flicker against the night wind. The next day, Reese showed up at my door, buzzing with energy. "Yo, we rolling tonight. They tagged our spot, bro. We can't let that slide." I looked at him, at the wild light in his eyes, and realized he was already gone. Not dead, but gone. The war had swallowed him whole. "I'm out," I said. He blinked. "Out? What you mean out?" "I mean, I'm done with this. I'm not doing another hit. Not for you, not for nobody." He stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. "You serious? After what they did to Tone?" "Yeah, I'm serious." Reese laughed. That cold, hollow laugh of someone too far gone. "You soft now, huh? Tone dying made you scared?" "Nah," I said quietly. "Tone dying made me see what's real." He shook his head, disgusted, and walked off. "You ain't built for this no more." Maybe he was right. Or maybe I was just tired of dying while still breathing. That night, I heard gunfire again, close this time. Screams, sirens, and then silence. When I stepped outside, I saw people running toward the corner. My gut twisted before I even got there. Reese was lying on the sidewalk, half his face in shadow, blood soaking through his hoodie. The same spot where Tone fell weeks ago. Different body, same story. I crouched beside him. His eyes were open, but he wasn't seeing me. All that energy, all that rage, gone in seconds. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. All I felt was numb. By sunrise, the streets were already whispering again. Another death, another revenge, another name on the wall. And I realized that out here, memories fade faster than blood dries. I walked down Rosecrans alone, the sun breaking through smog, the city still half asleep. My reflection in the liquor store window looked like a stranger. Same eyes, but something behind them was missing. Tone, Reese, the block. Everything we thought made us strong was just killing us slow. And for the first time, I asked myself the question nobody wants to ask out here. If the only thing the streets ever give back is pain, why do we keep calling them home? They buried Reese 3 days after the shooting. The sun was bright, like it didn't care. People wore black, but the block still buzzed. Cars rolling slow, music low, everyone watching everyone. Funerals in Compton were never just goodbyes. They were warnings. I stood near the back of the crowd, hands in my pockets, trying to disappear. Reese's mom was up front, screaming into her hands. His brother, Drian, was posted beside her, silent, stone-faced, already plotting something behind those eyes. He wasn't crying, he was calculating. I knew that look, because I'd worn it once too. When the service ended, Drian came over. "Word is you been keeping low," he said. "You was with him that night, right?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah." He stared at me for a second too long, like he was measuring something inside me. "Then you know who did it." "I don't," I said. It was a lie, not about knowing who, but about what. I knew the streets did it. The code, the pride, the endless back and forth. But he wanted a name, not the truth. Drian leaned closer. "We hittin' back tonight." I got the drop. He turned to walk off, but stopped. "You coming or what?" I didn't answer. He smirked, like he already knew my silence meant weakness, and walked away, the sound of his boots echoing off the pavement. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made me twitch. Car backfiring. A shout down the street. The city never really went quiet. It just hummed low, like a beast waiting for the next taste of blood. I sat by the window, staring out at the streetlights flickering over Rosecrans. My mom's voice echoed in my head. All her prayers, all her warnings. And Tone's face kept flashing behind my eyelids. I told myself I was done, that I wouldn't go back. But now Reese was gone too. And the streets had a way of whispering, "You next if you don't move first." The next day, the tension was thick enough to taste. You could see it in the way people talked, short, quiet sentences. You could feel it in how cars rolled slow past the corners, tinted windows hiding the eyes inside. Even the cops kept their distance. Everyone knew something was about to happen. At Lucky's, a few of the older heads were gathered, talking low. Big Leon, who ran things before going half legit, was shaking his head. "This ain't no war no more," he said. "It's a damn plague." Some young ones laughed. "You sound like a preacher, OG. They killed Reese. We gotta show 'em what's up." Leon looked at them hard. "What you gonna show 'em? That you can die too?" They went quiet, but he wasn't wrong. Still, logic don't live long out here. Pride always wins. I walked outside before they could drag me into the debate. The air smelled like heat and trouble. Across the street, I saw Drian and a few others loading up the trunk of a blue Caprice, weapons wrapped in towels. I didn't even need to ask what they were planning. He saw me watching. "Last chance, man," he called. "You in or out?" I should have said out. I should have walked away. But instead, I said nothing, and silence can be just as dangerous as a yes. We rode out at sunset. For deep in the car, windows cracked, eyes sharp. The city glowed orange, that Compton kind of light, when everything looks beautiful and deadly at once. The radio was off, but the tension played louder than music. Everyone had their mask on, not over their faces, but over their souls. We parked 2 blocks away from an East Side trap house near Willowbrook. Drian checked his gun, muttering under his breath. "Eye for an eye," he said. "That's the rule. But rules like that only leave you blind." When we moved, my heart was beating too fast. Every step sounded like thunder. I could hear kids laughing somewhere in the distance, like the world didn't know what was about to happen. Then the shots started. Flashes from behind a fence. Screams. Chaos. Drian fired first, then everyone followed. I couldn't even tell who we were shooting at. The air filled with smoke and dust, and my mind went blank. The only thing louder than the gunfire was my heartbeat. When it stopped, the silence hit hard. We ran back to the car. Someone, I think it was Drian, was bleeding from the shoulder. But what hit me harder was what I saw on the ground before we peeled off. A body, not in gang colors, not strapped. A woman, maybe in her 30s, groceries spilled beside her. I froze, staring out the window as we sped off. The others cursing, laughing, high on adrenaline. My stomach twisted. Couldn't breathe. That could have been my mom. Someone just trying to make it through another day. By the time I got home, I couldn't stand to look at myself. The gun felt like poison in my hands. I wrapped it in a towel and shoved it deep in the closet. Then I sat on the floor, hands in my hair, replaying everything. The noise, the smell, the face of that woman. Tone used to say, "Ain't no glory in dying for a block you don't even own." Now I knew exactly what he meant. Over the next week, retaliation became routine. Eastside came through our turf and sprayed a house. One of ours hit their cousin's barber shop. It was nonstop. The news didn't even bother covering it anymore. Just another wave of violence in South Central. As if it was weather, Malik found me one night sitting on the curb, staring at the pavement. He crouched down beside me, quiet for a moment. "You out there with him again?" he asked. I didn't answer. He sighed. "You starting to look like I used to." He took something out of his pocket, an old photo. 2 young men, arms around each other, smiling. "That's me and your pops," he said. "Back before he got caught up." I looked closer. My dad. A face I barely remembered. "He thought the block was his too," Malik said, "till they buried him 2 streets from where we sittin'. You think you different." The words cut deep. I didn't say anything. He patted my shoulder and stood up. "You can't save nobody by killing somebody else," he said softly. "All you can do is break the chain." He walked off, leaving me staring at that old photo. 2 men who once thought they could own the streets. Now one was dead, and the other was warning me not to follow. But it wasn't that easy to walk away. Once your name gets tied to blood, the streets won't let you vanish. They either fear you or hunt you, sometimes both. A few nights later, I got a call from Drian. His voice was urgent. Meet me by the train tracks in 20. Bring heat. When I showed up, he was pacing, furious. They hit my cousin, point blank, in front of his mom's. You still out or you ridin'? Drian. Don't Drian me. They playin' with us, man. They think we soft. He tossed me a gun. I caught it out of reflex. That's how it happens. 1 second of hesitation, and suddenly you're back in the game. We loaded into the car, hearts racing. Drian was running on anger, pure and toxic. But something about him looked different. Desperate, even scared. We hit East Side territory after midnight. The air was heavy, the streetlights dim. A beat-up El Camino was parked near the corner store. 3 dudes inside. Drian pointed. That's them. Before I could even think, he jumped out and started shooting. The world turned red and chaos roared. I ducked behind the car door, firing back just to survive. Bullets cracked glass, tires popped, metal screamed. One of their guys went down, but then I saw something that froze my blood. One of the shooters, the one crawling toward the curb, wasn't East Side. He was someone I knew. Kenny, Tone's cousin. The same kid who used to hoop with us after school. He looked up, eyes wide. Recognition hit both of us at the same time. What the hell are you doing here? I shouted. But before he could answer, Drian put 2 more shots in his chest. I stood there in shock as Kenny's body fell. His eyes still open, still confused. We just killed one of our own. We got back to the block around 2 a.m. Nobody spoke. The car smelled like sweat and gunpowder. Drian stared out the window, jaw clenched. I wanted to scream, but what was the point? I got out without saying a word. My hands were shaking too hard to light a cigarette. I looked down the street, the same old houses, same flickering lights, but everything looked different now. We weren't fighting a war anymore. We were just killing ghosts. The next morning, Malik burst into the house with the newspaper in his hand. You see this? He said, slamming it down. Front page. Local youth gunned down in East Compton. Gang war continues. There was Kenny's picture. Smiling. Alive. My chest caved in. It wasn't supposed to. It never is, Malik said. But it always ends the same. He looked at me hard. You think this ends with you walking away? You're already marked. They'll come for you or the cops will. Either way, you're running out of time. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. If you want to live, you gotta choose something bigger than the block, he said quietly. Because the block already chose death. That night, I sat outside my house, staring at the mural of Tone on the wall. Candles long burned out, colors faded by sun and rain. I whispered to him, like maybe he was listening. I tried, bro. I really did. Car rolled by slow. My hand instinctively went to my waistband, but it kept driving. My heart didn't stop racing though. I realized I couldn't live like this, waiting for headlights to mean death. But then I heard something, footsteps. I turned around and saw Drian walking toward me. Hoodie up, eyes cold. He stopped a few feet away. We need to talk. I'm done, I said. He shook his head. Nah, you don't get to be done. You was there last night. You part of this now. I didn't sign up to kill family. Family? He laughed bitterly. Ain't no family out here. There's only who's left standing. He stepped closer. You either ride with me, or you against me. Something broke inside me. I stared at him, at the madness in his eyes, and realized he'd crossed a line he couldn't come back from. I ain't against you, I said quietly, but I ain't dying for you either. He glared for a long second, then turned to leave. But before he walked off, he said something that chilled me. You'll wish you had my back when they come for you. He was right. 2 nights later, it happened. I was walking home from the store, bag of groceries in one hand, head down. The street was empty, too empty. A cold breeze swept through, rattling the cans in the gutter. Then I heard it, tires screeching. A car turned the corner fast, lights off, windows down. I dropped the bag and ran. Bullets tore through the night, pop, 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 echoing down the block. I dove behind a dumpster as glass shattered around me. The shots kept coming, relentless, like thunder. When the car finally sped off, my ears rang, and my heart felt like it might explode. I checked myself, no blood. Somehow I'd made it, but I knew what that meant. They weren't warning shots. They were a message. Someone wanted me gone, and the only person who could have sent that message was Drian. I packed a bag that night. Just the basics, some clothes, my mom's photo, a roll of cash I'd stashed years ago. I looked around my room one last time. Everything smelled like smoke and regret. As I zipped the bag, I caught my reflection in the cracked mirror. Same eyes, same face, but I didn't recognize the man staring back. Outside, the night hummed, sirens in the distance, dogs barking, life going on like nothing changed. I stepped out into the dark, heading toward the bus station. Halfway down the block, I stopped. Rosecrans stretched ahead of me, empty and endless. The same street that raised me, betrayed me, and buried everyone I ever loved. Part of me wanted to keep walking. Part of me couldn't, because walking away felt like surrender. And maybe, deep down, I wasn't ready to stop fighting. Not yet. I spent the next week in hiding. A friend of Malik's let me crash in a one-bedroom spot near Inglewood. Blinds always closed, lights off most nights. The air smelled like dust and fear. Every sound outside felt like a threat. I kept the gun close, but I hated touching it. My hands shook every time I picked it up. The trigger felt like a curse I couldn't shake. Sleep came in pieces, 30 minutes here, an hour there, always interrupted by dreams of gunfire and screams. By day, I stared out the window, watching life go on without me. Kids played in the street, couples argued on porches, cars rolled by blasting old West Coast beats. Same rhythm, different pain. Compton didn't stop for nobody. I thought about leaving, really leaving, catching a bus to Vegas or Arizona, somewhere dry and quiet, but running felt like betrayal too, like turning my back on everything I'd ever been, and everyone buried because of it. Then Malik found me. He knocked twice, soft but sharp. When I opened the door, he looked older than I remembered. More gray in his beard, more weight in his eyes. "You look like hell," he said. "I feel worse." He came inside, took a seat at the little table. "Word is you and Drian ain't cool no more. He tried to kill me." Malik nodded slowly. "That's what the streets do. You raise a monster long enough, it starts biting the hand that fed it." He pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. Inside were photos. Drian, his crew, cars, weapons, a house near Wilmington and 131st. "Where'd you get this?" I asked. "Somebody wants you to see it," Malik said. "Somebody who's tired of him running things." I frowned. "Who?" He hesitated. "A few of your old people. They say he's out of control. Killing kids, robbing allies, talking like he's king of the city. They want to put him down." The words made my stomach twist. "You want me to do it?" "I want you to live," Malik said. "But you can't run forever. If Drian wants you dead, you got two choices. Disappear or finish it." He stood up to leave, but before he did, he looked me in the eye. "If you go down that road, don't expect to come back the same." When the door shut, I stared at those photos for hours. Every picture looked like a memory of who we used to be. Me and Drian as kids, hustling candy at school, dreaming about cars and money. Now he was a ghost wearing my brother's skin. I poured myself a drink and whispered, "Maybe it ends tonight." The air outside was heavy, sticky with tension. I took the long way to Wilmington, keeping my hood low. Every corner, every alley felt like it was watching me. When I reached the spot, I stayed across the street. Drian's house looked normal. Lights on, music low, a few cars parked out front. But I could feel the energy. Too quiet, too controlled. I crept closer, hiding behind a dumpster. A group of his guys were laughing near the porch, bottles in hand. I recognized one of them, Tito, the same dude who used to run errands for us back in the day. I waited until he went to take a piss behind the garage, then pressed the barrel to his neck. "Don't scream," I said. He froze. "Where's Drian?" "Inside. he stammered. Back room. Anyone else? Couple more in the kitchen. I knocked him out cold and dragged him behind the dumpster. My heart was racing, but my hands were steady now. I moved toward the back door, cracked it open slow. Music leaked out, some old DJ quick track, mixed with laughter. The smell of weed and cheap liquor filled the air. I slid inside, stepped silent. Two guys in the kitchen, one leaning on the counter, the other scrolling his phone. Two quick hits. The silenced shots snapped through the air like whispers. Both dropped before they even turned around. I moved down the hallway. The music was louder now. My chest felt like fire. Then I heard his voice. Drian, talking to someone on the phone. Nah, I don't care what he said, he was saying. He's done. I told y'all. Anyone still rockin' with him is dead weight. I stepped into the doorway. He looked up, eyes wide, surprise flickering for just a second before it turned to something colder. Well damn, he said, smirking. Look who grew a spine. I kept the gun steady. You tried to have me killed. I should've, he said, standing. You lost your edge. I made this block what it is now. You too busy crying over ghosts. This ain't a block anymore, I said. It's a graveyard. He laughed. That's what it's always been. You just finally noticed. He started circling me, slow. So what now? You gon' shoot me? In my own house? After everything? You left me no choice. He nodded, lips curling. That's what Tone said too, right before he died. The room went silent. My breath caught. What did you just say? He smirked. Oh, you ain't know? That night with Tone? That wasn't no East Side hit. That was me. He was gonna snitch, man. He was weak. I couldn't let him take us down. Something inside me shattered. The world went red. I fired once, twice. Missed the first, grazed his shoulder the second. He dove behind the couch, firing back. The room exploded in chaos. Gunshots, shattering glass, the smell of cordite and blood. We moved through the living room like ghosts. Two brothers turned enemies, shooting in the dark. A bullet ripped through my arm, spinning me sideways. I crashed into the wall, pain flaring white-hot. He laughed through the chaos. You ain't built for this no more. I gritted my teeth, crawled behind the table. My vision blurred, but I could still see his outline moving toward me. I waited for his shadow to pass the window, then fired through the glass. The shot hit him square in the chest. He staggered back, dropped his gun, fell to his knees. I limped closer, gun still aimed. Blood soaked his shirt, his breath short and ragged. He looked up at me, eyes glassy. You think this ends with me? He said, voice trembling. There's always another Drian, another you. He coughed, smiled faintly. Ain't no peace here, only the dirt. I stood there, gun shaking, staring at what was left of him. Then I lowered it. No, I said quietly. Not anymore. He fell forward, lifeless. I stumbled out the back door, clutching my arm. The street was silent, the city holding its breath. I could feel sirens coming, not yet, but soon. The war was over, for now. But it didn't feel like victory. Felt like loss, deep and final. I made it halfway down the block before my knees gave out. I leaned against a wall, blood dripping through my fingers. The stars above blurred into streaks of light. Then I heard footsteps. Malik. He must have followed me. He crouched beside me, face tense. You did it, didn't you? I nodded weakly. It's over. He looked down the street, then back at me. It's never over, kid. But maybe now you can start living up. He tore a piece of cloth from his shirt, wrapped it tight around my arm. You need a hospital. No hospitals, I said. Cops'll be there. He sighed. Then we gotta move. I tried to stand, but the world tilted sideways. Malik grabbed me before I hit the ground. Don't you die on me, boy, he said. Not after all this. The last thing I remember was the sound of sirens getting closer and Malik's voice fading into the dark. When I woke up, I was in a basement. Clean bandage on my arm, dim light overhead, the smell of bleach and cigarettes. Malik sat nearby, smoking, staring at nothing. "You alive?" he said flatly. "Barely." I sat up slow. "How long was I out?" "2 days." I looked around. "Where are we?" "An old friend's spot. Off the grid." He took a long drag, exhaled. "They found Drian's body. Cops think it was a setup between rival crews. You ain't on their radar yet." I leaned back, head spinning. "I killed him, Malik. My own brother." He nodded slowly. "He stopped being your brother a long time ago." We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, "What you gonna do now?" I didn't know. I'd been chasing survival so long. I forgot what living even looked like. But I knew one thing. I couldn't stay here. Not in this city. Not around these ghosts. "I'm leaving," I said finally. Malik studied me for a moment. Then he nodded. "Good. But wherever you go, take this." He handed me a small envelope. Inside was the photo, him and my dad. But this time there was something else. A folded note, written in faded ink. "If you ever make it out, don't look back. The streets don't love nobody." The next morning, before the sun rose, I walked to the bus station. The city was quiet, just the sound of wind through the palms, the distant hum of traffic. I passed the mural of Tone 1 last time. Someone had repainted it. Fresh colors, new candles burning below. I stopped, stared for a long minute. "It's done," I whispered. "I'm sorry." Then I turned and kept walking. The bus to Vegas pulled up 10 minutes later. I took a seat by the window, my arm aching, my heart heavier than my bag. As the city rolled by, I saw the streets fade. Rosecrans, Compton Avenue, the alleys, the liquor stores, the corners where we used to laugh and bleed. It hit me then, all the lives lost to pride, all the names that never made it past 25. We thought we were soldiers, but we were just scared kids with guns and dreams too small for the world. As the skyline disappeared behind me, I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Fragile, trembling, but real. I didn't know where I was going, only that I was finally going somewhere new. But peace don't come easy. A week later, I was sitting in a cheap motel outside Barstow, trying to figure out my next move. No phone, no family, just cash and silence. That's when I heard it. A knock on the door. 3 slow taps. My stomach dropped. I reached for the gun under the bed. "Who is it?" I called. No answer. Then an envelope slid under the door. I waited a minute, then picked it up. Inside was a single photo, me at the bus station. On the back, written in red ink, "You can't outrun blood." I turned it over again and again, trying to convince myself it was some sick prank. But the handwriting, that red ink, those sharp, deliberate strokes, I knew it. Drian's crew used to tag their enemies' walls the same way. Someone from the old world had found me. I tore the photo in half, then into pieces. But it didn't matter. The message had already sunk deep. You can't outrun blood. For 2 days, I didn't sleep. I kept the curtains closed, gun always within reach. Every sound outside, a car engine, footsteps, the hiss of a soda machine, felt like death sneaking closer. On the 3rd night, it happened. A thump at the back door. Then another. I moved slow, heart pounding, gun raised. The lock clicked, the door creaked open, and a shadow slipped inside. I fired once, the bullet hit the wall. Then a voice hissed, "Yo, chill. It's me, Malik." He stepped into the light, hands raised, sweat dripping down his temple. "You almost killed me, fool." I lowered the gun, breathing hard. "What the hell are you doing here?" He tossed an envelope on the bed. "They're looking for you. The East Side crew. Drian's people ain't dead. Not all of them. Word's out that you smoked him. They want payback." I sat down, rubbing my temples. "How'd they find me?" He shrugged. "Same way they find everybody. Somebody talks." "Who?" He didn't answer, just looked at me with that tired, knowing stare. "You already know." The air felt thick, suffocating. Tone's name echoed in my head, Drian's dying words replaying like a curse. "There's always another you." I stood up, pacing. "I killed him, Malik. I ended it. Why won't it stop?" "'Cause you can't kill what you built," he said. "The streets don't die with one body. They just pass the crown." He pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I got a name, the one who sent that photo." I took it from him, unfolded it. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. Tito, the same dude I knocked out behind Drian's house that night. "He's running the crew now," Malik said, "and he's got something to prove. You were Drian's right hand. Killing you makes him a legend." I clenched my fists. "Then I'll kill him first." Malik sighed. "That what you think Tone wanted? Another body? Another war?" I looked away. "Tone's gone. So is your soul if you keep this up." His words hung in the air like smoke. But it was too late. I crossed too many lines to turn back. That night I drove out. No headlights, no music. Just the sound of my heart and the hum of the engine. The desert stretched out around me, endless and silent. The stars above looked like bullet holes in the sky. I followed Malik's info, an old car wash near Florence Avenue, Tito's new base. When I got close, I parked and watched. For guys outside, smoking, laughing. AKs slung over their shoulders. Tito inside, probably thinking he was untouchable. I sat there for almost an hour, hand on the gun, trying to breathe. I told myself this was justice. But deep down, I knew it was just habit. Violence had become my language, my comfort, my curse. Finally, I stepped out. The night air was thick and hot, tasting like gasoline and dust. I crept around the side of the building, moving like a ghost. One guard saw me too late. I caught him with a silent shot to the neck. Another turned, yelling, but my bullet found his chest before the words left his mouth. The others ran for cover. I moved fast, low, efficient. Years of muscle memory took over. Every motion felt familiar, terrifyingly so. Then I heard it, that laugh. Tito's. Same laugh from the nights we'd sit on the block, drinking 40s, talking about dreams bigger than Compton. I kicked open the office door. He was there, feet up on a desk, money spread out, gun in hand. Well, he said, smirking. "The ghost of Rosecrans. Why you come for me?" I asked. He leaned back. "You left a mess, old head. Somebody had to clean it up." "By hunting me?" He shrugged. "Ain't personal, just business. Streets need balance." "Balance?" I spat. "You think killing me fixes this?" He stood, eyes cold. "Nah, but it makes me king." The gunfight was fast, brutal. "I dove ben da crate." Bullets shredding the air. He moved like a snake, firing wild, laughing through the chaos. One shot grazed my side, but I kept firing, teeth clenched. My ears rang. Smoke filled the room, the stench of gunpowder burning my lungs. Then silence. I stepped out, gun raised. Tito was on the floor, clutching his stomach, blood soaking through his shirt. He looked up at me, smirk fading. "You really think it ends with me?" He gasped. "You kill me, somebody else steps up. Always. You ain't stopping nothing, man. You just feed in the beast." I stood over him, shaking. He wasn't wrong. I could hear sirens already. Someone must have called the cops. I looked down at Tito one last time. Then maybe the beast dies with me. I pulled the trigger. The echo bounced off the concrete walls, then faded into nothing. I ran. The night blurred, flashing lights in the distance, my own heartbeat thundering in my head. I made it to the car, peeled out, tires screaming. Blood soaked through my shirt, pain cutting deeper with every breath. I didn't know where I was driving, just away, always away. By dawn, I found myself back where it all started, Rosecrans Avenue. The street looked different now, quieter, older, but it still smelled like sweat, asphalt, and ghosts. I parked near the mural again, Tone's face still shining in the early morning light. Someone had added new names beneath it. Drian, Tito, others I didn't even know. I stood there, shaking, bleeding, staring at the wall. For the first time, I saw it clearly. Not just names, a pattern, a cycle. We kill, we mourn, we paint their faces, and then we kill again. And for what? I dropped the gun at my feet. The metal clanged against the concrete like a confession. "You win," I whispered to no one. I'm done. That's when I heard the engine. A black sedan turning the corner, slow. Windows tinted. They found me. I didn't run this time. 3 men stepped out, young, angry, armed. Maybe Tito's backup, maybe new faces already ready to take his place. Didn't matter. I raised my hands. You don't have to do this. One of them laughed. You think we care? The first shot hit the ground by my foot. The second grazed my arm. I fell to my knees, the world spinning. Then a voice. Enough! Malik. He came out of nowhere, firing. 2 of them dropped instantly, the third ran for cover. Malik moved fast, years of muscle memory taking over. When it was over, the street was quiet again. Smoke drifted in the morning air. He ran to me, grabbed my shoulders. You outta your damn mind, boy? I tried to speak, but blood filled my mouth. Told you, it never ends. Then we ended our way, he said. He picked up my gun, tossed it into a storm drain. No more killing, no more running. I looked up at him, the man who'd been more of a father than anyone else in my life. It's too late for me. Maybe, he said, but not for what's left of you. He lifted me up, half carrying me toward his car. The sunrise broke over the city. Orange lights spilling across rooftops, graffiti walls glowing like stained glass. I could hear sirens again, closer this time. Malik looked back once, then at me. You sure you want to keep going? I nodded weakly. Just drive. We ended up on a hill overlooking the city. Compton spread below us like a scar. Cracked, beautiful, broken. Smoke rose from somewhere in the distance, mixing with the morning haze. Malik handed me a cigarette. I hadn't smoked in years. I took it anyway. We sat there in silence, the world waking up around us. Birds, traffic, life, all moving forward, like nothing ever happened. You know, he said quietly, when I first met you, you was just a scared kid with fists too small for the fight. I tried to keep you out, but the streets always find their way back in. I stared at the horizon. Guess I became what I was running from. He nodded. Happens to the best of us. After a long pause, I said, maybe I should turn myself in. Let it all end clean. He looked at me hard. You think jail fixes this? You think the system gives a damn about cleaning blood off these streets? I didn't answer. He sighed. Nah, kid. You fix it by living. That's the real rebellion. Stay alive when everything around you wants you dead. The words hit deep. I didn't know if I could do that, if I even deserved to. But for the first time, I wanted to try. We watched the city together until the cigarette burned down to ash. Then Malik started the car. I know a place out in Oakland, he said. Quiet. You can disappear for real this time. I looked out the window one last time. Rosecrans looked peaceful from up here. Almost beautiful. But I knew better. Beneath that stillness were ghosts. Mine, Tone's, Drian's, Tito's, whispering from the cracks in the concrete. Hours later, as we crossed the freeway out of LA, Malik glanced at me. You ever think about coming back? I shook my head. If I do, it means I didn't learn nothing. He smiled, faint but real. That's the right answer. I leaned back, eyes heavy, wounds aching, but my mind finally quiet. Behind us, Compton shrank into the distance. A blur of color, sound, and pain. Ahead, nothing but open road. For the first time, I wasn't running from the past. I was driving towards something else, something unknown, maybe even hopeful. But deep down, a voice still whispered, you can't outrun blood. I looked out at the horizon and whispered back, watch me. Oakland wasn't what I imagined. The first morning I woke up there, the air felt cleaner. No sirens, no smoke, no echoes of gunfire bouncing between walls. Just wind, ocean fog, and the sound of some old man sweeping a sidewalk across the street. It didn't feel like peace, felt like exile. Malik found us a spot in a faded apartment near the docks. The kind of place no one asks questions, and the walls don't talk. Paint peeling, floors creaking, one window that barely opened. Still, it was more than I deserved. He spent the first week watching the news. Nothing about Drian, nothing about Tito, nothing about me. In the world's eyes, it was like none of us ever existed. "You got what you wanted," he said one morning, eyes still on the flickering TV. "They forgot you." I didn't answer, just stared out the window, watching the cranes swing above the harbor, loading ships bound for somewhere I'd never see. Forget me, that used to sound like freedom. Now it felt like erasure. Days blurred together. Malik found work fixing cars at a local shop. I stayed inside most of the time. My ribs still hurt, my sides still burned, and my sleep, when it came, was full of ghosts. Tone, Drian, Tito, their faces visited every night. Not angry, not vengeful, just present, like they were waiting for me to join them. Sometimes I'd hear their voices in the hum of the refrigerator or the clatter of the rain against the window. Tone laughing, Drian shouting, Tito whispering the same thing over and over. You can't outrun blood. I tried to silence it with liquor, with long walks, with nothingness. But silence made it louder. And every night, I found myself back in the same dream. Rosecrans at dawn, empty and endless. The mural fading. My name written beneath it in red. One afternoon, Malik came home with a box. "You gotta do something, man," he said, setting it down. Inside were cans of paint, brushes, gloves, and a blank canvas. "You used to sketch, remember?" I hadn't thought about that in years. Back before the corners, before Tone and the crew, I used to draw sneakers and cars on notebook paper, dreaming of being a designer. Dreams get buried fast where we come from. I stared at the blank canvas. "What am I supposed to paint?" "Whatever's left of you," Malik said, "before it disappears too." He walked out, left me alone with it. The room felt still, heavy with the smell of oil and turpentine. So I started. Slow, clumsy, hands shaking. At first it was just shapes, lines, shadows, nothing clear. But the more I painted, the more it became familiar. A street, a mural, a boy with fists too small for the fight. It wasn't art. It was confession. Every stroke bled truth. Things I never said, people I never mourned, guilt I never faced. When it was done, I stepped back. The boy in the painting was staring at me. Tired eyes, cracked knuckles, standing in the middle of Rosecrans like he owned nothing but pain. That's when I broke. All the walls I'd built around my heart just fell. I sat on the floor, shaking, crying like I hadn't since I was 10. Not out of weakness, out of release. Malik came in, didn't say a word, just sat next to me, hand on my shoulder, while I let years of rage pour out. "You finally seeing it," he said quietly. "The cost." Weeks passed. The nightmares didn't stop, but they changed. Tone's smile replaced the gunfire. Drian's eyes, once filled with hate, now looked human again. Even Tito's voice softened in the dark, like forgiveness whispering from the grave. I started painting more. Scenes from the old block, kids playing by the hydrant, women on porches gossiping, nights under the streetlights. Not the violence, the life beneath it. One day, Malik looked at the paintings covering our walls and said, "You should show these." I laughed. "Show them to who? The world don't care about street ghosts." "Maybe not," he said, "but maybe some kid out there does. One who's still got time to choose different." That idea stuck with me. A few weeks later, I went back to LA. Malik didn't want me to, but I had to see it, the place where it all started. Closure or maybe punishment. I didn't know. The drive down was long, heavy. Every freeway sign felt like a memory calling my name. When I hit Compton city limits, my chest tightened like I'd swallowed glass. Rosecrans looked smaller now, gentrified in places, broken in others. The mural was still there, faded, cracked, half covered in graffiti. Tone's face almost gone. I stood in front of it for a long time. Cars passed, people stared, but I didn't care. I reached into my bag, pulled out one of my new paintings, the one of the boy under the streetlight, and leaned it against the wall. Then I took out a can of spray paint and wrote above it, "We were here. Don't make our mistakes." The words looked raw, uneven, but they were real. My truth, my apology, my goodbye. As I turned to leave, I noticed a group of kids down the block, maybe 14, 15. Hoodies, bikes, laughter. They looked at me, then at the mural, whispering to each other. One of them called out, "Yo, you knew Tone?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, we grew up together." "What happened to him?" another asked. I hesitated. The easy answer was, he got caught up. The truth was harder. "He forgot who he was," I said finally. "We both did." They nodded like they understood. Maybe they didn't, but maybe one day they would. I walked back to the car, feeling something strange. Not peace exactly, but direction. Like maybe, just maybe, my story could mean something if it kept another kid alive. When I got back to Oakland, Malik was sitting on the balcony, beer in hand. "How was it?" he asked. "Different," I said. "Quieter." He looked at me, then smiled. "You look lighter. Maybe I left something behind." He nodded. "That's how you start living again." Time moved. Seasons changed. I picked up work helping at a youth center down by the port. Kids from rough neighborhoods, same stories, same pain. They didn't know who I was, and I didn't tell them. I just listened, something no one ever did for me when I was their age. One kid, Jalen, reminded me of Tone. Smart, fearless, always on the edge of trouble. He asked one day, "You ever been in the life?" I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Long enough to know it ends two ways, dirt or memory. Don't chase either." He nodded, quiet for once. Weeks later, he brought in a sketchbook, showed me his art. Streets, cars, faces, raw talent. I told him to keep drawing, to make his own world before the streets made one for him. Months later, I had my first small art show. It wasn't fancy, just a corner in a community gallery. Paintings hung on white walls, people walking by, stopping, staring. Some shook their heads. Some smiled. Some cried. One man asked me, "What's your art about?" I thought for a long moment, then said, "It's about what happens when you finally stop pulling the trigger and start listening to the echo." He didn't get it. Most people wouldn't. But I wasn't painting for them. I was painting for Tone, for Drian, for Tito, for every name painted on a wall that never got to tell its story. That night, I sat alone in the gallery after everyone left. Just me and the paintings. The boy on Rosecrans stared back, still there, still small. But now, behind him, I'd painted light, faint, but real. Malik showed up late carrying 2 beers. He handed me one. "You did it, kid." I laughed. "Did what?" "Broke the cycle." I looked at the canvas again. Maybe, or maybe I just learned to live with the ghosts. He nodded. "Same thing, far as I'm concerned." We sat there in silence. The sound of the city outside, waves, horns, laughter from a bar down the block. It wasn't the sound of war. It was life. Messy, fragile, beautiful life. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged in it. Later, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. I thought about Rosecrans, about Tone's smile, about that last drive out of LA. And I realized something. The streets don't really die. They just change shape, move into your memories, your guilt, your art. You carry them wherever you go. But maybe, if you're lucky, they stop carrying you. I got up, went to the window. The city lights shimmered across the bay like a pulse. Somewhere far off, a siren wailed, faint, distant. For once, it didn't make my chest tighten. I whispered into the dark, "Tone, we made it out." The next morning, I painted again. This time, not the streets, the horizon. No walls, no guns, no ghosts. Just light breaking through the fog. And in the corner of the canvas, I signed it for the first time in years. By the kid from Rosecrans. Epilogue. A few months later, the youth center hung my painting in their main hall. Kids passed it every day, barely noticing at first. But every now and then, one would stop, stare, and ask, "Who's the kid under the streetlight?" And someone would answer, "Just someone who decided to live."